Both of you stand up, Baba commanded. Take hold of each other's hand, and at my count, stand and then squat down. Up, down, up, down, up, Baba commanded. The pain in Alan's legs began to flare up, but this time it seemed funny. He and Robert began to laugh as they moved back and forth like a piston. After a few more repetitions, Baba told them that they could stop. Alan stood up, feeling wobbly on his feet, but this time he obeyed Baba's orders and kept hold of Robert's hand. Look at each other, Baba instructed. Alan stared into Robert's brown eyes. Life is a funny thing, Baba began. You two are strangers, but you have met many times before. So this time, be good to one another. And with that, he walked away, leaving the two strangers looking uncomfortably into each other's eyes. Later that night, the three of them sat around a bright fire in front of the ashram. Baba had taken off his turban and was combing his long hair down his back. Alan stared into the fire, nervously breaking a stick into smaller and smaller pieces. Can I voice a concern? Alan finally asked. Baba nodded. Am I safe here? I mean, from Suraj. Oh, Potato Head, he won't do anything here. Alan broke out in a nervous laugh. Potato Head? That was his name, I can't help it, Baba said, smiling. As a boy, he liked his paranthas only one way. He would have nothing to do with cauliflower, onion, or daikon. With him, it was just potato, potato, potato. But why won't he try and get me here? Alan asked. Because, Baba said, letting out a sad sigh, this was our teacher's ashram. It's a sacred place for him. For years he has kept the squatters and beggars away, so he can't be unrighteous in the shadow here of one who has touched his soul. Baba gazed around the fire, nodding to himself. Suraj would sit right there, Baba said, pointing to a large flat rock by the fire pit. Little Rani would sit on his lap, and our teacher would sit right where I am now. We would love it then, because at night round the fire he was less the stern taskmaster and more the grandfather. You knew Suraj well? Alan asked. Very well. Once we were the best of friends. What happened? Robert asked. Lots, Baba answered, tying his hair above his head like a samurai. The Siddhi powers came between us. Siddhi powers? Robert interrupted. What you call occult powers. They came to us both. He loved them, I less so. But for a time I used them. I couldn't stand seeing these so-called holy men squeezing the people dry, so I took my revenge. I would make it so that they could not pee or move, and when my teacher found out, I owned up to my error and he sent me away. But Suraj lied right to his face, and for that, he was banished forever from his presence. Suraj blames me for all of that. Why was it wrong to use those powers in a good way? Robert asked. Because they're not your personal army. They belong to God, so if you pray and miracles come, that's one thing. But occult powers are like drugs. Give you pleasure, then destroy you. Where did he send you? Alan asked. The Golden Temple. What's that? Alan replied. It is a nerve center of consciousness, where chanting has gone on unbroken 24 hours a day for centuries. What happened there? Robert asked. The monster ego within me got smashed, Baba replied. Right after midnight, I would clean the marble floors there. Year after year I did it, until the me inside of me finally gave up. Baba closed his eyes. He could not describe the peace he had felt there, but he also couldn't describe the pain. The Golden Temple, this place of peace, had also been a killing field. What he had just said to the two Americans was not exactly true. The sound current at the Golden Temple had been broken because in 1984, the tanks of the Indian government had smashed into its environs, searching for terrorists. That ever-present sound current had stopped because the chanters were now all dead. And in that attack, his wife had been killed as well, caught in a deadly crossfire that had ensued. "Let us go to bed," Baba said despondently. "There will be other stories for another day." Alan and Robert looked at each other, confused by the sudden change in Baba's mood. And as Baba poured some water over the fire, they all got ready for bed in silence.